She was hungry. She was poor. Abini was born poor. Poverty was the first thing she ever knew. It followed her like a shadow, quiet but constant, never leaving her side. Her mother was a hard-working woman, a gentle soul with hands rough from washing clothes, cleaning homes, and carrying heavy loads of firewood. Every morning, she would rise before the sun, long before the village roosters crowed, to make sure Abini would have something warm to eat. Her mother carried the weight of their world alone. But fate was unkind. When Abini was only 9 years old, her mother fell gravely ill. There was no money for medicine, no one to help. Each night, Abini sat by her mother's bedside, holding her frail hand and whispering prayers that felt too small for such a big world. "Please, Mama, stay with me," she murmured. Her mother's eyes fluttered open once, and she whispered back, "Child, life is hard, but your heart must remain strong." By morning, her mother was gone. Abini's cries echoed through the empty hut, swallowed by the thick walls of poverty and despair. Her father had vanished years ago, lost in the forests while searching for work, and never returned. From that day, Abini belonged to no one. She had no family, no home, no safety. The villagers allowed her to stay in a small corner near the river, but they did not care. "She is just a poor girl," they whispered. "She will never become anything." Abini watched other children play in the dusty village streets, laughing and chasing each other. She wanted to run with them, to feel the freedom in their movements, but her world was made of chores, hunger, and shadows. She built dreams from dust, constructing castles she could never enter, imagining a life beyond the endless struggle. Even as a child, she understood one truth. Life will take much from me, but I will not give it my spirit. She learned to work before dawn, fetching water from the river, carrying heavy clay pots back to the hut. Her feet would blister, her hands would crack, yet she never complained. She learned to find joy in the smallest things, a soft cloud, the sound of birds, a cool breeze on a hot day. By the time she was 12, Abini had grown small but mighty, shaped by hardship, fearless in the face of hunger. She knew how to survive. She had no one to protect her but herself, and she carried that knowledge like armor. Each day followed a rhythm of survival. The sun rose with a harsh glare, illuminating the dirt roads and broken rooftops of the village. Abini would rise before the first light, her body stiff and tired. She would carry a heavy pot of water from the river, every step reminding her that life was a test. She worked for the villagers, washing clothes, sweeping homes, and tending small gardens. Her pay was meager, a few coins, a slice of bread, or sometimes nothing at all. The older women would scold her if she spilled a drop of water or missed a speck of dust. One afternoon, while sweeping the floor of a wealthy woman's hut, Abini accidentally knocked over a clay cup. It shattered. The woman's shrill voice pierced the air. "Clumsy girl! You have no respect. Go fetch more water." Abini bowed her head, bit her lip, and obeyed silently. She could not fight. She could not complain. She had learned that anger could not feed her stomach. At night, when the village settled and families gathered around fires to eat, Abini often sat alone on the edge of the river, drinking water and nibbling at whatever scraps she could find. Her stomach ached, but she held her chin high. She refused to cry in front of anyone. Yet inside, her heart burned with longing. She wished for just one person who cared, one person who would not see her as a burden. She wished for warmth, for safety, for love. And though her life was empty, Abini never lost hope. Every night, lying under the stars, she whispered to the heavens, "I will survive. I will not give up. One day, something good will find me." The next morning, the sun barely touched the village, and Abini had already left her small corner near the river. Her stomach ached, but hunger was a companion she had long grown accustomed to. The forest lay beyond the village, dark and mysterious, and the villagers always warned children to stay away. But Abini had no choice. She needed firewood, and the forest was the only place where she could find enough to survive the coming week. As she walked, her small feet sank into the damp soil, and the shadows of tall trees stretched across her path. The birds were quiet, as if the forest itself were holding its breath. Abini clutched a worn basket to her chest, feeling the weight of the world pressing against her small shoulders. After an hour of walking, she reached a clearing where the sun broke through the thick canopy in warm, golden beams. She knelt and began collecting dry twigs and fallen branches. Her hands moved quickly, trained by years of necessity. Suddenly, she heard a faint rustle behind her. Abini froze. Her heart pounded like a drum. She turned slowly, trying to see through the dense shadows. A figure stepped into the light, a man, old and bent, his clothes torn and dirt-streaked, carrying only a small bundle. He looked at her with eyes that were startlingly bright, almost luminous against the dim forest. "My child, do you have something to eat?" he asked, his voice shaking, weak but polite. Abini's hands shook. She looked down at her basket, which held barely enough twigs to trade for a small meal. And then she remembered the small clay pot in her hut, the porridge she had been saving. Her mind raced. Should she share it? If she gave it away, she would have nothing. But the old man's eyes, there was a depth in them, something ancient and sad. She swallowed hard. I only have a little, she said, her voice trembling. It is all I can give. The man nodded slowly, a faint smile forming on his lips. Then give me what you have. Fear not. You have. Fear not. I do not ask for more than you can spare. Abini reached into the folds of her ragged clothing and retrieved the small clay pot. She lifted it and placed it carefully in front of him. This is all I have, she whispered. The man looked down at the pot, then back at her. His eyes glistened with tears. You are a rare soul, child, he said softly. He ate quietly, savoring every spoonful as though it were a feast fit for a king. Abini watched, feeling a strange warmth in her chest, a sense that she had done something right in a world that had taken so much from her. When he finished, he leaned closer and whispered. Fate will remember this night. Remember it well, Abini. What you gave was not just food, it was your heart. Before she could respond, he vanished into the shadows of the forest, leaving only the faint scent of incense and earth behind. Abini stood frozen, clutching the empty basket, her mind spinning. She had no idea who he was or why he had appeared. But one thing was clear, her act of kindness, even in the face of hunger, had changed something. Days passed, and Abini found herself thinking of the stranger often. Who was he? Why had he appeared in the forest at the exact moment she was most in need? She could not stop herself from feeling that something greater than her understanding was at work. But life in the village did not pause for mysteries. The villagers were growing restless. Crops were failing. Water was scarce. Rumors spread quickly, as they always did in small communities. And when strange misfortunes began to happen, cows falling ill, wells drying overnight, the villagers needed someone to blame. It did not take long for them to point fingers at Abini. It is her fault. The poor girl is cursed. She stole the forest's blessings and brought bad luck to us. Abini tried to explain, but her words fell on deaf ears. The villagers were angry, and their anger was loud, harsh, and unforgiving. One morning, she was chased out of her small corner near the river. Stones were thrown, harsh words shouted, and doors slammed in her face. Hungry, weak, and exhausted, she ran toward the edge of the forest, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked cheeks. She collapsed beneath a giant baobab tree, her small body shivering. She whispered into the wind. I gave when I had nothing. I gave because I had to. And yet, the world punishes me. The night crept in around her, dark and heavy. And yet, for the first time, a small voice in her heart said, do not despair. The forest remembers. Fate is not done with you, child. The forest stretched endlessly before her, the shadows of ancient trees swaying slightly in the night breeze. Abini had never felt so alone. Yet, in her heart, a quiet determination burned brighter than any fear. She knew what she had to do. The villagers had cast her out. Hunger gnawed at her belly. The forest offered no comfort, only the whispering of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. Her mind wandered to the stranger she had helped days ago. Had he been real, or was he a dream conjured by her desperation? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate, and unmistakably human. Abini stiffened. She had learned to trust no one, yet some part of her wanted to hope. From the shadows emerged a young man, not much older than herself. His clothes were simple, yet his eyes held a quiet power, a calm strength that made Abini instinctively take a step back. "Do not be afraid," he said softly, his voice carrying warmth and authority. "I am not here to harm you." Abini's heart pounded. Who are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "My name is Kofi," he replied. "I have watched you, Abini. I have seen your heart. You gave what little you had to someone in need, even when the world turned against you. That is why I am here." Confusion and curiosity warred within her. "Why? Why would you care about me?" Kofi smiled 96. Faintly. "Because your choices shape your destiny. You are at a crossroads. One path leads to despair. Another leads to greatness. But the choice, it is yours alone." Abini looked at him, unsure. "I do not understand. I have nothing. I am nothing. How can my choices matter?" Kofi stepped closer, holding a small pouch. "This is a seed. Plant it where you will, nurture it with care, and it will grow. But remember, Abini, it is not the seed alone that creates life. It is the love, the effort, the heart you put into it. And it will demand sacrifices." Her hands trembled as she took the pouch. She looked at the forest floor, the darkness pressing in, the wind whispering warnings through the leaves. Could she trust him? Could she believe in something beyond her suffering? A sudden rustle behind her snapped her attention back. The forest seemed alive now, watching, waiting. Abini's mind flashed to all she had lost, her mother, her home, her childhood, and the constant hunger that had shadowed every step. She sank to her knees, clutching the pouch. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She whispered to the night. I will try. I will do what you ask, even if I fail. Even if I fall, I will rise again." Kofi nodded, satisfied. "Good. But know this, the path of kindness is never easy. You will face betrayal. You will face pain. But you will also find strength, wisdom, and unexpected joy." With that, he turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Abini alone with her thoughts, her heart racing, and a tiny seed that held a universe of possibilities. Abini planted the seed in a small clearing near the river. She nurtured it daily, speaking to it, singing to it, and watering it with care. At first, nothing happened. The sun beat down, the rains came and went, yet the seed seemed dormant. Villagers mocked her. "The girl is crazy. She talks to a seed like it can listen." But Abini did not falter. Every night, she whispered words of encouragement. "Grow strong. Survive. Show me the world beyond this pain." Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the seed sprouted. A tender green shoot broke through the earth. Abini gasped. Life had responded to her effort, her love, and her persistence. The plant grew rapidly, far faster than she expected. Its leaves glimmered like emeralds, and its roots reached deep into the soil, strong and unwavering. The forest seemed to hum with energy around it. Abini realized that this was no ordinary plant. "It is a gift, and a test," she murmured. As the plant flourished, so did Abini's understanding of her own strength. She could endure hunger, hardship, and cruelty. She could stand firm when the world sought to break her. She could rise, no matter how dark the night or heavy the storm. One evening, while tending the magical plant, Abini heard cries in the distance. She ran toward the sound and found a young boy trapped in the roots of a fallen tree. He struggled to breathe, and panic filled her heart. Without hesitation, she freed him, using all her strength. The boy's mother arrived shortly after, overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you, child. You saved my son." Abini smiled faintly, though exhaustion racked her body. "It is nothing," she said softly. "I only did what I could." Little did she know, her act of kindness was being observed by others in the village. Rumors began to spread. "The girl with the magical plant, she is special. She is not like the others." Some villagers grew envious, plotting to steal the plant. Others grew curious, seeking guidance and wisdom. Abini realized that her choices carried weight beyond her imagination. Every action had consequences, every kind act rippled through the lives of those around her. She had chosen the path of kindness. But it was a dangerous path. One night, as Abini slept near her small hut by the forest, she heard whispers outside. Shadows moved among the trees, and she sensed something was wrong. When she stepped outside, she saw two villagers. Attempting to uproot the magical plant. "Stop," she cried, her voice trembling with fear and authority. "This plant is not for you." They laughed cruelly. "Who will stop us, poor girl? You are nothing." But Abini remembered the words of Kofi. She planted her feet firmly, her hands glowing with a strange warmth she did not fully understand yet. "I may be small, but I am not nothing," she declared. As she spoke, the plant's leaves shimmered in the moonlight. The roots shifted and entwined around the villagers, not harming them, but preventing them from moving. Panic filled their eyes. They ran, screaming, leaving the magical plant untouched. Abini fell to her knees, gasping. She realized then that kindness and courage were intertwined. One could not exist without the other. The sun rose over the village like a silent witness, casting golden light over the mud huts and narrow dusty paths. But the warmth of the morning could not reach Abini's heart. Whispers followed her wherever she went. Mothers clutched their children tightly when she passed. Fathers shook their heads in disapproval. Even the children, who had once played in the dusty streets, now ran and hid when she appeared. "She is cursed," some murmured. "That girl brings misfortune," others said. Abini kept her head down, silent. She had learned that arguing with the crowd was useless. Their fear and envy were stronger than reason. But inside, a fire burned. She would not give up, no matter how many tried to destroy her spirit. Word of the magical plant and Abini's acts of kindness spread quickly. Some villagers, curious, approached her. Others, driven by jealousy, went to the village council to demand action. The council, a group of elders who prided themselves on tradition and power, summoned Abini to stand before them. Their faces were stern, etched with lines of authority. "Abini," the head elder began, his voice heavy with disapproval, "we have heard strange reports. That plant you tend, it is unnatural. It grows faster than any plant should. The forest whispers about you. People fear what they do not understand." Abini's heart pounded, but she held her head high. "Elders, I do not seek to frighten anyone. I only tend to the plant because it was entrusted to me. I care for it as one would care for life itself." One elder sneered. "You are but a girl. A poor, orphaned girl. You dare speak in such a way? You think you can defy the ways of the village?" "I do not defy the village," Abini replied steadily. "I honor life. And life honors those who act with kindness." A hushed silence fell over the council chamber. Some elders were impressed by her courage, others were angered by her audacity. "Very well," the head elder said finally, his voice low and measured. "If what you claim is true, then you must prove it. You will face trials to show the village that you are worthy of trust, respect, and protection. Fail, and you leave this village forever." Abini nodded, her stomach twisting with fear, but her spirit unbroken. She understood then that the path of kindness was never simple. It demanded sacrifice, courage, and resilient, the first trial tested her endurance. The elders demanded that she spend 3 days and nights in the forest, surviving only on what she could find. If she failed to return with proof of survival, the village would declare her unworthy. Abini left at dawn, carrying only the magical plant and a small pouch of maize. Hunger gnawed at her from the first hour. The forest, which had once been a sanctuary, now seemed like a maze of shadows and hidden dangers. She climbed steep hills, crossed rushing streams, and avoided the predators that roamed the night. Her hands were scratched, her feet blistered, but she pressed on. During the second night, she was trapped in a sudden storm. Rain lashed her face, lightning illuminated the trees, and thunder shook the earth. She huddled under the branches of a massive baobab tree, shivering and soaked to the bone. Yet, she whispered words of encouragement to herself. I am strong. I am not alone. I will rise. When morning came, the sun revealed a narrow path that led to a hidden spring. Abini drank the clear water, and her strength returned. She had survived. The second trial tested her compassion. The elders sent her to a neighboring village where a young boy had been bitten by a snake. The villagers there were poor, distrustful, and suspicious of strangers. They would not let her near unless she proved her intent. Abini approached slowly, speaking softly. I only wish to help your child. Please, allow me. The boy's mother hesitated but eventually let her through. Abini cleaned the wound, applied herbal remedies she had learned from her mother long ago, and stayed by the boy's side until he fell asleep, safe and calm. Word of her courage and kindness reached the neighboring village elders, who praised her. Even the villagers who had doubted her could not deny her heart. Perhaps the child is right, whispered one villager. There is something extraordinary about her. The third trial was the most difficult. The elders presented a challenge that required wisdom, courage, and moral judgment. Abini, the head elder, said, you must choose between saving the life of a stranger or protecting your own safety. You will not be allowed to do both. What you choose will reveal your heart. The scenario was cruelly set up. A young woman from the village had become trapped in the river during a flash flood. Abini could save her, risking her own life, or stay safe on the riverbank. Without hesitation, Abini ran into the raging water. The current was strong, pulling her under, but she pushed forward. She reached the woman, pulling her onto her back, and struggled to reach the shore. Every muscle in her body screamed in protest, but her will would not break. Finally, they reached solid ground, both gasping for breath. The villagers watching from the banks fell silent. Abini looked down at the young woman, then back at the elders. The heart cannot value safety over life, she said simply. The head elder nodded, his eyes glistening. You have proven yourself, he said. Not only through strength and skill but through the purity of your heart. You are worthy. Slowly, the villagers began to shift. Those who had mocked her now offered smiles, hesitant at first, then genuine. Mothers allowed their children to play near her again. Fathers nodded respectfully when she passed. The village no longer saw her as cursed, but as a blessing. Yet Abini knew that the trials were only the beginning. Fate had more to test her, and her journey was far from over. The forest was quiet that night, save for the soft rustle of leaves and the distant croak of a frog. Abini sat beside her magical plant, now a towering sapling, its leaves shimmering under the moonlight like fragments of emerald. She had completed the trials, survived hunger, danger, and distrust, and yet a sense of restlessness remained in her heart. She whispered to the night. I have done all I can. Have I truly proven myself? The wind responded with a soft, almost melodic sigh. Then, from the shadows, a presence emerged, not human, but radiant, ancient. A shimmering figure stepped forward, glowing faintly, like a memory of sunlight filtered through 1,000 leaves. Abini's breath caught. The figure spoke, its voice carrying both authority and warmth. Abini, you have walked the path of trials, and you have passed with courage and kindness. but there is more you must understand. The figure's form solidified, and Abini realized she was looking at the spirit of an ancestor, a guardian of the forest itself. Its eyes held wisdom spanning centuries, and its voice resonated deep within her soul. "I am the one who sent Kofi," the spirit continued. "He came to guide you, to test you, to prepare you for the life you were destined to lead. You have listened, acted with heart, and shown that your spirit is pure." Abini's hands shook, her chest tightening with awe and fear. I did what I could," she whispered. "But I am just a girl. How could I ever be worthy of all this?" The ancestor knelt slightly, lowering its glowing form to her level. "It is not wealth, nor status, nor power that makes one worthy. It is heart, resilience, and the courage to choose kindness over fear, even when no one watches. You have done that, child. You are worthy beyond measure." With a wave of the ancestor's hand, the magical plant began to shimmer and glow. Its branches stretched higher, leaves sparkling like stars in the night sky. From the trunk, golden fruits began to appear, each radiating warmth and vitality. "These fruits," the ancestor said, "hold the blessings of the forest. They will bring prosperity, protection, and wisdom to you and those who follow you. But remember, they must be shared with pure hearts. Greed will undo what has been given." Abini reached out hesitantly, touching one of the fruits. It pulsed in her hands, warm and alive. She felt her strength return, a power rooted not in force, but in love and perseverance. "You have learned well, Abini," the spirit said. "Your life will change, but not for selfish gain. You must guide, protect, and inspire others as you have been guided. This is the way of your destiny." When Abini returned to the village at dawn, the people were astonished. The magical plant, now a grand tree with golden fruits, stood proudly in the clearing. Its presence radiated warmth and hope, drawing villagers near. Mothers led their children to touch the leaves. Elders marveled at the fruits, tasting them cautiously and finding their flavor sweet, nourishing, and unlike anything they had known. Abini's courage and kindness, now amplified by the blessings of the forest, had transformed not only herself but her entire community. The villagers no longer whispered with fear, they celebrated her as a hero. Though rewarded, Abini's journey was not yet complete. The spirit appeared once more, speaking through the rustling leaves. "True power, Abini, lies not in magic, but in the heart. You have been given the forest's blessing, but your final trial is to lead with compassion, wisdom, and humility. Will you accept this responsibility?" Abini paused, the weight of her trials heavy on her small shoulders. She looked at the villagers, at the children laughing and playing beneath the shimmering branches, and felt a new sense of purpose. "Yes," she said finally, her voice strong and steady. "I will lead with my heart. I will protect this village, guide my people, and honor the gifts I have been given." The spirit's form glowed brighter, enveloping her in a warm, golden light. "Then rise, Abini. Your destiny begins anew." From that day forward, Abini became a symbol of hope and resilience. She nurtured the magical tree, shared its fruits, and taught the villagers the importance of kindness, courage, and perseverance. Her small corner near the river, once a place of hunger and fear, became a sanctuary of learning and growth. The children adored her, the elders respected her, and the villagers trusted her. She had not only survived the trials of fate but had risen above them, transforming her own life and the lives of all those around her. Even Kofi appeared from time to time, guiding her and offering advice, yet always letting her make the final choices. Through patience, love, and wisdom, Abini became more than just a survivor, she became a leader, a guardian, and a legend in her own right. The magical tree stood as a reminder: true wealth is not measured in gold or riches, but in heart, resilience, and the courage to act with kindness in a world that often forgets it. The village glowed under the soft light of the setting sun. The golden fruits of Abini's magical tree reflected the warm rays, scattering tiny sparks of light across the clearing. Children ran laughing. isn't something you are born with. It grows inside you, just like the tree. You nurture it with every choice you make, every act of kindness, and every time you refuse to give up. Her words spread like fire, inspiring a generation to rise above hardship, to act with love, and to believe in themselves. Even as the village celebrated, Abini often sat quietly under the tree, reflecting on her journey. She remembered the nights she spent hungry, the fear of being abandoned, and the loneliness that had once defined her life. Yet now, those memories were not just pain, they were the roots of her strength. Each trial, each moment of doubt, had shaped her into the woman she had become. And as she looked at the villagers smiling, children playing, and families gathering, she felt a profound sense of belonging. "I have found home," she whispered. "Not in a house or a village, but in the hearts I touch and the choices I make." One evening, Kofi approached her, carrying a small pouch of seeds, even smaller than the magical tree's fruit. "These are for the future," he said. "Plant them where you see potential, where hope is needed. Let your legacy grow beyond this village." Abini took the seeds carefully, her hands steady. "I will," she promised. "I will make sure kindness and courage spread far and wide." With that, she planted the first seed near the edge of the forest. It sprouted immediately, a tiny green shoot reaching toward the sky. Abini smiled. The journey would never truly end. Life, like the forest, would continue to grow, shaped by the choices of those with heart and vision. The night of celebration came, with drums, dancing, and songs that echoed across the hills. The villagers gathered under the glowing branches of the magical tree, singing of courage, love, and hope. Abini joined them, her laughter blending with the music. Even the elders who had doubted her danced, their faces radiant with joy. Kofi watched from the shadows, proud yet humble, knowing that mothers prepared feasts, and elders stood together, nodding in approval and pride. Abini walked through the crowd, her heart swelling with gratitude and wonder. She had come a long way, from the orphan girl who fled the cruel world to the courageous young woman who had earned the respect of an entire village. "Today is not just my celebration," she whispered to herself. "It is a celebration of every choice I made, every act of kindness, every moment I refused to give in to fear." Long wooden tables were laid beneath the magical tree, covered in plates of vibrant dishes made from the fruits and herbs of the forest. The aroma of spices, roasted meats, and fresh bread filled the air. Villagers gathered, their eyes wide with admiration and joy. The head elder stepped forward, his voice strong and filled with pride. "Today, we honor Abini, not for the magic she nurtured, but for the heart she showed. Her courage, wisdom, and compassion have reminded us what it means to be human." Abini's eyes glistened as the villagers cheered. Children ran to hug her, mothers offered blessings, and even those who had once doubted her bowed with respect. "This is more than I could have ever imagined," she whispered to Kofi, who stood quietly beside her. "It feels perfect." Kofi smiled, his eyes reflecting the golden light. "You earned it, Abini. Every trial, every challenge, it led you here." The magical tree had grown into a towering symbol of hope. Its golden fruits were shared generously, nourishing villagers and travelers alike. People came from distant villages to see the tree, to taste its blessings, and to learn from Abini. She became a teacher, guiding others to act with kindness, courage, and wisdom. Young girls and boys learned the importance of heart over wealth, perseverance over fear, and generosity over greed. Abini, a young girl, asked one morning, "How did you find the courage to do all of this?" Abini smiled, placing a hand on the girl's shoulder. "Courage." Abini had truly become the guardian of her destiny. As the moon rose high, casting silver light over the village, Abini placed her hand on the tree. "Thank you," she whispered, "for guiding me, testing me, and showing me that life is beautiful when lived with heart." The tree shimmered in response, leaves rustling gently, as if whispering back. "You are home, Abini. You are family. You are legend." Abini's story reminds us all that life's greatest treasures are not gold, wealth, or status. They are courage, kindness, and the strength to rise above despair. When we act with heart, we create a legacy that lasts beyond a lifetime. And in every heart that chooses love, Abini's spirit lives on. Kindness never makes you poor. It makes you unforgettable. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more African stories that heal the soul.